I really counted wrong. There are 12 units. This really is the last unit, though. The last kind of sentence. Here we go. One more time. Oh, by the way, people call me Jet too. The last sentence structure combines stuff you already know. You already know compound sentences. You know complex sentences. Now you're going to combine the two, and it's called a compound complex. You just take a compound sentence, add a dependent clause using a subordinating conjunction, and you have a compound complex sentence, abbreviated CCX. The difficult part is making sure that these three separate thoughts belong together and are in the most effective order. And your choice of conjunctions will influence both of these factors. They aren't hard, but they do take practice and competent editing. So for instance, Mom squeezed apple cider and Dad made pumpkin pie because family shares the work. First, the compound sentence. Then you add the dependent clause. Okay, so Mom squeezed apple cider. Independent. Dad made pumpkin pie. Independent. Both make sense by themselves. Then you add because family shares the work. Doesn't make sense by itself. Dependent. Okay, so the red is the compound. Mom squeezed the apple cider and Dad made pumpkin pie. Notice the CC connecting the two complete thoughts or the two independent clauses and the comma. The dependent clause is in blue. It is always introduced by a subordinating conjunction. Because the family shares the work. Doesn't make sense by itself. Dependent. Dependent clauses are always connected to the subordinating conjunction that introduces it. The subordinating conjunction is what makes the thought incomplete. The correct use of comma is absolutely vital. Comma before the coordinating conjunction in compound complex or compound sentences. Please notice that there is only one comma before the CC because it connects the two whole thoughts, the independent clauses. This kind of sentence is abbreviated CCX, compound complex. That means S, C, CX, and CCX are the four kinds of sentence structures. To put it another way, simple, compound, complex, compound complex are the four kinds of sentence structures. This combining of whole thoughts is a really effective way to clean up an essay filled with simple sentences or endless ands. So when you're editing your work, look for the chance to combine single thoughts. That's probably when you'll first start using the CCX sentences. Writing a CCX spontaneously takes work, and you'll probably find that you'll write run-ons more frequently, but then you'll need that strict editing. One last editing and writing manipulation. It's a kind of stylistic manipulation of your thoughts. Later, once you've been writing for a couple of years, this kind of sentence will come to you more easily and more naturally. You'll see more opportunities to correct your essays using these kinds of sentence structures. Here's the part where you can actually start a sentence with because. You can put a dependent clause anywhere in the sentence as long as you set it off with commas. This set off by commas is really hard to remember. You must make a point of checking for commas exclusively when you're editing. Don't think about what you wrote. Think about the sentence structure, the conjunctions, and the need for commas. Your sentences will sound clunky like this one does, but keep at it. So, because family shares the work, Mom squeezed apple cider and Dad made pumpkin pie. Or, Mom squeezed the apple cider since family shares the work, so Dad made pumpkin pies. It's not Shakespeare, but it works. This is a CCX sentence, compound complex sentence, no matter what order you place the clauses. By the way, this abbreviation method comes in monumentally important in Unit 2. This also works in complex sentences with the same comma requirement. While the hero saved the children, comma, the coward hid. These are the most difficult sentence structures and probably requires the most effort, but it does demonstrate a command of the language and grammar. It makes you sound intelligent. Standardized tests rank you higher if you can recognize, write, and edit this kind of sentence. Work at it. These sentences make more sense once you start writing paragraphs and essays, especially when your ideas become more complex. You know, high school. The makes sense part of a sentence is really important. With these sentences, you must think of the sentence and its clauses independent of the rest of your essay in order to decide if it makes sense, as if it were a standalone sentence. Try reading and editing your essays or paragraphs from the bottom sentences up. The sentence structure requires lots of practice and editing for content, but it is worth the effort. If we were in a classroom, I'd be having you write as many of these kinds of sentences as we could squeeze in before the bell. We would spend all of first semester working on grammar before we even bothered to write an essay. Master these sentence structures and your run-ons will actually disappear. Quiz, my dears. What is the last type of sentence structure? Compound complex. If you put a dependent clause at the start of a sentence, what must you include? If you put a dependent clause between two independent clauses, what must you include? Commas is the answer for both of those questions. Congratulations, you have successfully completed Unit 1. Mosey on over to Unit 2, you wonderful grammar geek.